best, and yes, we are the very best.
$7 popping collars, eating shrimp, $5 met some girls from Guatemala, now they trying to holler.
Now before they wouldn't bother, now I'm trying to be a scholar, cause she giving all the knowledge to me.
Knowledge to me.
Doing homework every night of the week. Like she chilling up at college with me.
College with me, but we cruising, man. Rolling up at 430. Kush same color as a Kobe Road jersey, or a throwback worthy. Giraffe ass high, fresh breeze just passing us by. Cause I'm cruising on a Sunday afternoon. I got my good shoes on, ain't got no bad news. Here's what you say to the lady. Let me squeeze you, oh, let me hold you, oh, let me squeeze you, oh, let me hold you. Why? Cause I don't wanna leave this party, baby, without you. What you waiting for? Hop in the ride. Okay. What you waiting for? Hop in the ride. So I arrive at a party at 9. I reside beside Sim, think I'm fly. Time's on our side, but look again, then it's 11 p.m. Chalk it on the board. Time to sin, let's begin. Hey, you kinda cute, and I got the loot to befriend both you and your girlfriend too.
You single Tim Jones?
Well, that depends. Just then she turned to a friend and she said,
I really like him.
Say word.
I really like him.
Oh yeah.
I really, really, really like.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Papa T. We're here at JCT Tv. And opening up always, we'd like to give a great salutation to the Executive Director, Big Al Coles, ×2. We also have Al in the house. Big ups, Al. How are you today? Also, ladies and gentlemen, to my right, your left out there in TV land, I have the outstanding returning co-host, none other than Jatrice Ghali. Jatrice, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. And I have Mr. Francisco Ramos. How are you, sir?
Pleasure to be here.
And you know, we're going to be covering a very sensitive subject, especially today in the current administration. A lot of so-called changes. And we really can't say changes because when something advances and then you reverse it, it's not quite a change because you've been there, did that, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is that in the female gender that we encompass here, and I say encompass because it's a large part of our existence. Without us, there'd be no them, or without them, there'd be no us, right? Because multiplication and duplication and regeneration comes through the process of multiplication with the lovely female, right? With that being said, we want to say it's going to be a pleasure jumping into this subject matter. Mm-hmm. And as in always opening up, I like to toss it to my right. Again, your left out there in TV land. And whoever grabs it, we're talking about success via 2025's platform as it pertains to women.
Now, like we have discussed before, is the fact that it's a lot throughout history about how everything is coming about for the women, for the females. And the way I see it is that we have come a long way, and to be able to make a stand for ourselves, to be able to be considered, even heard. Okay. And because at the time they didn't want to hear us. They wanted us to actually just do this, do that, just kind of be obedient. And we're like, no, that's not us. That's not how it should be. We should be considered equal in having to do the things that needs to be done. Because you do need us. You do need us to actually be able to balance out what it is that you have going on. So if it turns out that there's something that you want to do to be able to succeed with, you may need that support. You may need help with the visualization. You need guidance. We're there for that, other than cooking, cleaning, and giving birth.
All right. Okay, that's a good point. Well, back at the time, say between 1920 and 1950, of course, women were more abused back then. We go back to our history, going back to when Martin Luther King was trying to end discrimination, separation, racism, which is what still goes on to this day in 2025, because, history repeats itself, nevertheless. But I think part of the issue is because, how we wouldn't be here without you guys, because you guys give birth, but going back to how certain parts in the body are sensitive, not to get too technical, because like when it comes to heavy lifting jobs, doing driving, construction, and things like that, women are more prone to getting hurt on the job compared to men. Supposedly that's just the statistics, nevertheless. But of course, innocent to proven wrong. But there should always be equal opportunity. If you know you're capable of doing something, you should never judge a book by its cover and let people see for themselves. So that's why, even though racism and discrimination, separation, diversity, all these different categories that all relate to one another still go on to this day, everybody should be given the equal opportunity. Because whether it was Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or anybody else, Abraham Lincoln, who's on the $5 bill, etc., in our history, that's what it all stood for. And that's why we celebrate these holidays year after year, because that was to end discrimination, to make sure everyone had an equal chance, regardless if you have sensitive parts or men are stronger or vice versa. Because how things are going now, we need people to work to put back into our system now more than ever, with everything going up. Because in government, everything connects. And if half the population is not working,
listen, I'm going to jump in here.
Sure.
The thing is that you mentioned something. You mentioned Abraham Lincoln's name with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, right? Like he was a liberator or a freedom fighter or something. Those men were freedom fighters.
Right.
Okay, Abraham Lincoln simply said that if you guys fight with us and we win the war, we'll liberate you. And not the people, you, those people that fought. Okay, so I want history to be clear here, right?
Right.
But with that being said, I don't condone a lot of the things that's said today as far as the woman and the man. If we're going to say something, especially here on this platform, let's have something to back it up with facts, not our own personal opinions. You understand?
Yes.
Back it up with facts. If you tell me that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the woman, depending upon your beliefs, I was here originally. You understand? But I duplicate myself through the woman. You understand? So we need to clean up a lot of those terms. Right? But with that being said, I'm going to throw it back to you guys. Just be clear on what you're saying.
Okay, so
be truthful.
Okay.
So, for instance, there are some people who actually have a lot of ideas, have a lot of thoughts, have a lot of dreams, and we all have that. But the thing about it is that it does take some sort of different perspective to actually be able to make that come alive, make it a reality.
Okay.
So there's some men who actually think that they may not need a woman's perspective, but if you're trying to sell something and you're trying to draw the right audience, trying to be able to make it more appealing, because what if your idea is only to draw for the men, but you want to get the women too, but you're finding it very hard to do that. You probably are going to need a woman to help you with that, to achieve what it is that you're trying to get out there.
I'm going to throw it right to you, Mr. Cisco. That thing that you're talking about is balance, right?
Yep.
The yin and yang,
Yep.
white and black, right? Justice and injustice. You have to have the yin and the yang in order for any system to work correctly, the hard and the soft, right? So that's why we clear that up, right? That's what you were actually saying. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. But that ties back to what I was saying before. So whatever you're talking about, whatever your argument is, separate between fact and opinion. You got the proof. The stronger your argument, the less that you'll need people. But of course, having a second opinion to like back up what you're saying is always supportive. But if you got the facts and you're straight to the point, so you don't elaborate, keep talking and talking, that's gonna catch people's attention more, because you gotta be straightforward and know what you're talking about. Because you don't always need the support. But if you don't know nothing, then you probably shouldn't try it at all until you know what you're talking about. That goes back to judging a book by its cover, because even aside from women, a lot of people who are disabled, who even have whatever conditions, also judge too from the very beginning. But if they know they can get up and go do the math equation or park the car or move the tables, whatever the type of job it is, then they gotta just, you know what, you say what you want, but I'm gonna go handle my business. And then when people see what's something out of the ordinary, and then they're going to talk about it forever. Right, because now we were able to prove you wrong. But then when people are doing better, then they want to come to you. But that's how you start seeing who's true and who's not too true. Not going to put nobody down, but you start seeing for yourself who are the ones there from the start and who's not. So, but you know, with that being said, but that's how we just gotta know how to treat each other as equals and discrimination. And stop judging a book by its cover.
You guys are building strong here. With that being said, we're going to jump off set, go over to some remote coverage. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Great job. The day is starting to heat up a little bit, and that excites me, right?
Yeah,
So,
why not?
Yeah, so the thing is that on the return, we promised you that we would talk about the mechanics of such a relationship. And it really is relationships today, because all women are being raised to the standpoint that they're saying, the father as well as the mother, go get your education, you all meet in the middle and have something nice so that you can live comfortable, and that finances won't be the biggest part of your relationship as far as stress. Because what happens when the wealthy run into a niche or clinch in the relationship, they can go on vacation, some for a month, some 2 weeks, a week. When they come back, they good to go. Everything has been worked out and mended without even talking about it, just getting to reacquaint yourself with one another, because those work hours can be stressful as far as qualifying for time.
Yes.
With that being said, I'm going to throw it out there raw to you and say, how should the mechanics of such a situation work?
I think how it should work is getting to know each other.
Okay.
You sit down, talk to each other as you guys are progressing and growing. You get to understand how each other work.
Okay.
See how you two actually tick, how the female tick, how the male tick, how they actually are able to mesh things together to be able to work and continue to work. Now, if you, and it's to a point where it's like, if you actually see each other down the road as being a little bit more than what your relationship is stating in the beginning, then that's a good thing, for one. And two, it also means that you have to keep progressing.
Right. Because as a team, and especially as a married couple, the greatest institution in existence, right? You have to be equally yoked. And what I mean by that, you have to be on the same path. You have to play on the same sheet of music, right? Because if I'm playing Little Red Riding Hood song and you're playing Let's Get It On, right? We got a problem, right? So
either we got a problem, or you're gonna try to do like a little remix or something where it's
to consolidate it
to be able to work that out.
But so what I'm saying is, in many terms, is that I just looked up today speaking to someone who has that mindset. But I've heard of, and mostly on the movies, because I don't talk to a lot of people outside of talking to people on television, radio, and so forth, in the media. I've heard a lot of women, and also on these social media platforms now that I've been investing in that, that there's a different mindset. Like the woman comes out aggressive, which she don't need to be, because if you're going to be in anything, it has to be yin and yang, hard and soft. And it doesn't mean that she always have to be the softest of the equation, because there's going to be some areas where she's the strongest. And we as males need to know how to fall back, and that female needs to know how to fall back and absorb, because we both are not going to absorb together. Otherwise, we become like two cancers. We're eating each other up, and that becomes the demise of the relationship.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And with that being said, we've been addressing the subject matter of women's progress and success 2025 via all of the platforms out there, because all of the platforms is the platforms of the planet Earth, and we want women to have their say, and we want to see how it actually interacts and produces, because it's all about production, right? With that being said, I'm tossing back at you guys. Continue whether women are winning or losing, or whether there's a problem.
So I want to go back to when we were actually referring to relationships and how that dynamic works, where it's important that things work out in a relationship especially if it turns out that the woman is the one who is actually working hard and is actually bringing in the money. Now her counterpart, her significant other, may not be bringing in as much, but knowing that it's okay that things are going right and they actually had a discussion over finance and also housework and pretty much everything in a daily routine life, that they already have a perspective and they sat down and talked about it, because that's the best way is to communicate. You have to. So that way to make everything stable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then going back to what I was saying, not judging a book by its cover, and then now, so back to the woman's perspective. Aside from doing finances, money, cooking, cleaning, when they do her driving, going to the store, the shopping, speaking of finances, and then bringing the kids to the doctors, or bringing you to the doctor sometimes to come back and do the time management. There's a detour, and then they manage the time in traffic, got to do an accident. So that means women are good logical thinkers also, because they figure out everything, how to bring the couches in, who do all the stuff in the house that they don't get enough credit for. But it's always the men getting the credit, because most of the time they bring the money in. But you got to balance it, like you're saying. Because if you don't balance it, then it's always going to be problems, confrontation, and then that's lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you guys are starting to swing a little hotter, right? But, I mean, you said something that was key, and you said communication.
Yep.
Right? Other conversations we've had on this subject matter, communication is always the foundation of all elevation if you're going to be successful or succeed.
Yep.
You actually got into the actual details of job descriptions, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was a little tickled because coming from a Hispanic background and having close relations with Hispanics, right, especially through my family relations, right, you have a structure in your family. It's a family. You understand?
Yeah.
And in a family, in any business, you have the chief, you have the soldiers, right? And, well, you have the Indians, they'll say, when it comes down to the Indians, right? But the thing is, you have the captain, you have the colonel, you have the people underneath the captain, like the lieutenant, the sergeants, and the soldiers, and so forth. It's a chain of command, right? So in that, if everybody respect everybody's position, as you said with the communication, if we talk about it, this is what I expect from you as a wife. How you going to just get engaged, because it's usually lust, right? Get engaged and say, okay, we're going to get married, and you don't even really truly know each other. You have to have a destination and a plan, right? And the thing is, if you say, this is what I expect from you as a wife, it doesn't make a difference how remedial or how major those tasks is. You agree to that. This is an unwritten contract, right? So the thing is, if she says, I expect this from you, and then all of a sudden, say to you, I expect that we're going to have a big house, right? So I'll have your children, you know what I'm saying? If I can have at least one or two nannies, right? And I have my own vehicle. I have at least an hour or two Thursday nights that I can just go out driving on my own, right? And you accept it, and then now you become a couch bum. You're looking at TV, and you're not producing, and she started acting different. And don't call it mutiny. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're not on your job. I'm going to throw this back out there with that being said.
Right, because adding to that, actually, but that's why in any discussion, the debate, there is between arguing and debating. When you're debating, everything's on the table. You got to not take too much time and come up with a solution. But if the debating takes too long, okay, this conversation is not going nowhere. Excuse me, I can't do this. Because you're taking up too much time and you keep debating. So, but that's it. The debate is the very critical part before the contract, before you seal the agreement. Otherwise, you agree to the contract and you back out, then you're somewhat of a liar, which is not good. So that's why the debating is the very critical part, going back to that. But anyway, so at the same time, that's what really, really comes to go back to communication and understanding. And that's the same thing. We just got to have you don't have to agree, but we got to understand each other. And if you still can't even do that, then we shouldn't be together at all. See you, there's the door.
Jatrice,
but what do you think?
I already know. Let me ask you, Jatrice, do you agree there has to be a debate?
That's what I wanted to do. So, okay. Your definition to that word is wrong. It's not debate. It's negotiating. It's conversation, discussion. Those are the three key words you should be using for a relationship. when you're sitting down and you guys are having to talk about, hey, trying to get to know each other, that's considered a conversation, a discussion of what is going to be considered a deal breaker in continuing on the journey. And when you actually want to continue on, that's when you actually are going to further the discussion about, oh, how about this? How about that? We're actually going to get engaged. We're going to actually start living together. We're going to actually have a family. We're going to do this. There's a lot throughout your relationship and throughout your life. You're always having to learn and grow about each other, and as yourselves as individuals, of certain things that you do like and dislike, and learn that there's certain things that you used to like, but now you have a new type of liking. But like I said, it's not a debate. Never consider it as a debate.
I'm in total agreement. Hold on. I'm in total agreement with that as far as that word debate, that it should not be a part of your relationship. Because the thing is that you have to be equally yoked. So if I tell you this is what I like and you say this is what I like, if I tell you I like worshiping on Sunday and you tell me you like worshiping on Saturday, we might as well say we just going to date and be friends, because that is not a house that is joined. It's a house divided. Anyway, go ahead.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I see what you meant by, because the general concept of a debate is you're not arguing. We're just putting things on the table and we're discussing. Because how we're going to agree on anything if we can't come up with a solution? So that's another way to use the word debate. So going back to that. But I see you say that may be too strong of a word as far as just negotiating and understanding.
It's not the fact.
So I see your point, but
it's not the fact that it's not. It's not
hold on, Secretary.
Just coming up with a solution, right? And that's only if you find your significant other true love, because the meaning, because even with love in general, it's just been diminished with how life has played out. Because too many people just could go in and out of relationships like it's water, like it's nothing. So true love isn't really there anymore. Because like we could be like relationship today and there just be nothing tomorrow. So like the true meaning of love really isn't there that much anymore anyway. It's there, but because of how people represent and really do things according to society's perspective, it's not really there anymore.
Okay. So is the word, it's not the fact that it's not an ugly word, it's not something, it's just that it's not proper when it comes down to a relationship. That's all it really is, because when you are in a relationship with someone, you're not trying to argue. You're trying to, you're coming up with a solution.
Arguing is not debating. There's a difference.
Yes.
but you are basically trying to make your point come across in a way where it's respectful, because you are coming together. You want to be treated with respect, then you should be giving it to that person so you can receive it back. That's one. Two, it's the fact of you want it to be a honorable discussion on how things are supposed, how you want to be able to perspect things and be able to get across. So that way they can actually process it well enough where it's not going to escalate to an argument. And there's no ultimatum either.
So adding to that.
Hold on. With that being said, I want to say that you are definitely correct, because if we don't have some type of mutual attraction from the beginning, right, then we have to have some kind of mutual respect. And love is the highest elevation of all understanding, which means we understand one another. That's why the scripture tells you to love your enemy. Pray for them to despitefully use you. By love being the highest elevation of all understanding, it's telling you that I love you, although I know that I can't trust you. So I feed you with a long-handled spoon. You understand? But the thing is, that's love. Love is love regardless of whom or what. And always remember this, it's the highest elevation of all understanding. So two people understand one another, then they can create understanding. They can create another being, right? And that being is raised. It's already determined how that being is going to be raised.
And that's how you forgive. So you don't have revenge or think any type of negativity. You were done wrong, but I'm going to forgive you so we can surpass this and figure out the next thing. I got to do things different, but now I forgive you, and now we could try something else.
And ladies and gentlemen, As we part again, we're going to go over to some coverage from MNN, but we're going to come back to BCC TV. As just remember, there should never be no misunderstandings, no arguments.
No.
Love is love. We'll be right back.
And that's how we get success.
So if you guys are committed, it will actually give you the time to grow closer together. Because yeah, I did this and I did this, and we're going to be able to do this. We're going to be able to do this. Not I. There's no I in we, right?
Yep.
So the thing is, if you're growing together and you're communicating, you can't wait till the end of the day to have that partner discussion. This is where we at today. You won't believe it. We made a major accomplishment, a major move. We're going to be able to do this by next year. This is our new goal. I know we started at the end of the year saying that we're going to make 1.5 million this year. I just cut a deal where we're going to make at least 3.5.
Or to do your homework, read. Reading, they told you all the time, reading is fundamental. Read and find out the truths and the realities of all of these situations, and then address the issues amongst your families and then publicly. You know what I mean?
Right, to get the facts out there.
Yeah,
and let
because we're
people
down
know.
to like the last 30 seconds. 15 seconds. Let's send them off.
And but anyway, so the point of the discussion today is just to have equity stand for everybody. Everybody should be treated the same. Don't judge a book by its cover, and always give people a chance, and then have an accurate judgment instead of going based off what people say. And justice for all.
Trace?
I say at this point in time, it's knowing and understanding what's going on and how to actually go about it. Because right now it's the fact of knowing what's going on and understanding how to go about it and how you can actually proceed to go about it in your daily life.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, it's been another great session, but we want you to read, think, and motivate toward love, the highest elevation of all understanding. Success awaits us. Keep it coming.
Two-tone and L-E-L-N-E-S-S-N. Yes, we are the very best. $7 popping collars, eating shrimp, $5 make some noise.